What's up, guys? Welcome to our live. We're going live with Nicholas Wildstar today, and we're going to be answering some questions, taking some of your Q&As, stuff like that. Just give me a moment, please. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Can you guys hear me through the mic? Um, I'm hoping you can. Just give us a moment. Give me a moment to get the person I need to get in right now. Let's see. Is he coming in? Let's see. Let me send it again. Oh, there we go. Alright, let me see if I can send you a request right now. And we're going to start answering questions right away. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Nicholas? How you doing?
Incredible. How about yourself? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you just fine, and I'm sure our audience is too. So, can I start off with question number one? What are your political views? What political organization or like best aligns with your political views or even party?
At this time, libertarianism, which basically promotes self-governance
Mm-hmm.
and treating others as you want to be treated. The golden rule of life that
Right.
we all know, innately as human beings. So it more so revolves around that, and pretty much that it shouldn't take government force in order for a good idea to be implemented, which seems to be the current status of our political system today. Whether it's Republicans are in control or Democrats in control, they all tend to use the authority of the state to implement whatever type of changes in society they want. And of course, again, if it was a good idea, then it wouldn't take force in order for us to embrace it.
And
So
and what makes you most fit to be the next governor of California?
well, in understanding those principles, I know what the people of California want the most, which is basically someone that's just going to honor their word. I've been involved in community activism for over a decade. I've helped feed the homeless. I've done community cleanup projects. I've been involved in protests and marches, and even was involved in the signature gathering process to get Gavin Newsom out of office. So if you look no further than my record of activism to see as to why I'm qualified, then you'll see again why I'm the only candidate fit to serve as a representative of we the people.
And what do you think about the assembly passing a bill to make a CRT, critical race theory, a graduation requirement?
I don't agree with that at all. I don't believe that government should be involved in educational curriculum choice. I think that's something that's best left to parents to be able to choose. And unfortunately, our educators right now have their hands tied because the state is the one that's passing down that educational curriculum and are again having them impose those studies upon our children. So if we want to make sure that parents have more control over what happens in the classroom and what their children are being taught, then we should be localizing our educational system. There's nothing in the Constitution that delegates that responsibility to
Mm-hmm.
government, so I will be returning that power back to the people of the community.
That sounds great. So, my next question is, what do you think about forced vaccines on children, like to go back to school, to go back to education as normal, and things like that?
I'm completely against it, which is why I do plan on nullifying SB 276 and 277 immediately once I'm elected governor. That way, our kids won't be required to be forcibly vaccinated just to attend schools, nor should educators be required to vaccinate themselves just to teach at schools and be around our children. So that should be a great concern right now, especially with the implementation of this COVID-19 shot, which is also being pretty much put into rotation in those yearly vaccinations for children and adults here in California. So we want to rid our state of that law altogether. That way we won't have to worry about our kids being experimented on with this mRNA shot.
And if you weren't to use roughly $116 million to basically do like some form of vaccine lottery, what would you have used that money for?
Pardon me, you were breaking up there a bit. Do you mind saying that one more time?
No, I'm okay. Okay, so I was gonna ask you if you weren't gonna use $116 million to do like some vaccine lottery, what would you use that money for?
Well, I definitely would use that to address our state issues like homelessness, which, pretty much has been neglected this entire time, even though Gavin Newsom spent nearly $1 billion on that effort over the past year. We still have thousands of homeless people living on our streets and, homeless encampments that are causing dangers to the community and law enforcement, et cetera. So we want to make sure that we clean up our streets with that money. I also think that our businesses deserve some type of support. The small businesses that have been put out of business due to Gavin Newsom's lockdowns. And property owners are still having to pay taxes, which trickles down to tenants and, them being able to unafford rent and being threatened with evictions. So the best way to, again, address all of these issues, instead of throwing away the money on people to try to entice them to be vaccinated, is to help the people in the community.
So what do you think about Gavin Newsom keeping grip on emergency powers after June the 15th?
I believe that is treasonous indeed. He's acting unconstitutionally, and it's up to we the people to call him out on his abuse of power, on his abuse of authority, on his abuse of public trust, which, at this time has proven to be something that he's also not considered at all, because you had a lot of people that were reliant upon the arbitrary opening date of June 15th, even though it was long after the CDC said it's okay for, states to reopen and schools to reopen, et cetera. So we got the green light from, medical organizations that are being trusted upon, but yet Gavin Newsom ignored them completely and ignored the demands of we the people of California, and is again holding on to powers that are not delegated to him by way of we the people. So we need to be calling him out for that, which is why I'm letting people know that once I'm elected governor, Gavin Newsom has 10 days to leave the state of California, or he will be held liable for his crimes against humanity.
Okay, and you would take him to court for that, correct?
I would have him arrested by the sheriff's department, but yes, he would be prosecuted through the court of law to, of course, prove his guilt. But first and foremost, he is guilty of committing a crime, and he should be arrested for such and be given the opportunity to bail out of jail just like everybody else. But I believe for his amount of crimes that he's committed, and with him being a flight risk, that's something that we shouldn't be considering, and we should keep him in jail until he faces a judge in a court of law.
So what do you think about Newsom adjusting the figure of 14% job creation in America to last month to 4%, like adjusting figures, like false?
Pardon me, you were breaking up there a bit.
What do you think about Gavin Newsom adjusting figures falsely? Like last month, we created 14% of American jobs, and he adjusted that figure to 40%.
Oh, yes. It's ridiculous. That's why I believe that accounting needs to be done, proper accounting. And as governor on day one, I'll be conducting a audit of the state's finances, of our jobs report, of the COVID-19 cases that are not due to someone dying due to COVID-19. I mean, all of these numbers have pretty much been inflated in some way, shape, or form to support their agenda. Which again is to keep us locked down and underneath their authoritarian control. And my goal is to liberate the people of California, return that power of authority to choose for oneself to you, the individual.
Okay. If you were to be the governor today, how would you have spent the $76 billion surplus?
Well, that amount of money was actually, again, a inflated amount by Gavin Newsom, saying it was a surplus when really it was about half of that. I believe about $36 million or
Billion,
$1 billion,
yeah,
whatever
billion.
the case. Yeah. And that's actually extra money that was received from federal aid from the federal government, from the Biden administration. So that emergency aid money is money that we have to pay back with our tax dollars. So the minute people start working again, that's why your taxes are going to be higher. You're going to be paying more at the gas pumps. You're going to be paying more when you buy your groceries. So if you want to make sure that we increase our buying power here in the state, then we can't be borrowing more money from the federal government, which is borrowing money from the Federal Reserve, which is no more federal than Federal Express. But it's a private company that basically has a monopoly on us receiving our money. We, the people of California, should be able to create our own money, which is what I'm offering to do as governor. That way we can increase our buying power here in the
See,
state.
that's interesting. And is this a currency that's backed by gold?
It will be. We will have currency that is backed by any gold, any other resources. We have a cannabis industry, a hemp industry that is looking very prospective in the future. If we were able to capitalize on it, we could build more technologies from it, like oil and wood and other types of products. We also have a technology industry. We have an agriculture industry. You know,
Right.
California produces over half of the nation's fruits and vegetables. So we have an abundance of wealth to back that currency
Yeah,
with.
and unfortunately, that number is decreasing due to the lack of water being sent to the Central Valley. So, what do you think about doing that?
Well, I plan on building some reserves for the state of California, especially to make sure that we can prepare ourselves for when a drought situation such as now arises. They are to be expected. They happen periodically, maybe about every 10 to 15 years. This last one took about 17. So it's just a matter of us being prepared
Right.
for that instead of relying on the government to do that. So I would look into building reserves off of Temperance Flats and the Sierra Nevada Reserve, as well as atmospheric water generators. I'm, through my Gold New Deal, offering to create our own public-owned utility where we have our own water power and, you know, servers, so we can have our own internet public space here in the state of California. So with these atmospheric water generators, they basically create water out of thin air, and we can make sure that everybody in the state of California has water and power and not have to pay a dollar for it.
And what do you think about Gavin Newsom awarding like high speed rail contractors $2 billion?
I believe that the high-speed rail project is a government boondoggle. You know, it's proven to just be another waste of taxpayers' money. As governor, I do plan on ending the amount of taxpayers' money being spent on the project and giving it away to some of these private companies. You know, you got Tesla out there who would love to take over the project, I'm sure, or maybe Virgin, or even allow them to build a hyperloop, or you know, any other type of improved public transportation system that isn't costing we the people money, you know. And that's what I plan on doing as governor through my Gold New Deal, is improving our public transportation system, making it more state of the art, and as I said, making sure that we're able to do so without using we the people's money.
Well, it just seems like another way to collect tax money, unfortunately.
From Gavin Newsom with what he's doing now.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes, absolutely. People don't even know in the bill that he signed to make California a state that only sells renewable energy cars. In that bill is actually a tax increase for that high speed rail. So The devil's in the details, which is why I plan on nullifying these bills immediately once I'm elected. We can go through with the fine tooth comb, um, and keep the parts of it that we want that will benefit us. But as I said, put that power of economic prowess and financial gain in the hands of we the people instead of these corporations.
Right. And how do you plan on setting up 18-year-old high school graduates for success to be an example to the rest of the nation?
That's actually a great question because I was just reading in a report earlier that was talking about how youth employment in this country and across the world is actually at a record low,
Yeah.
especially due to this pandemic and, with them not seeing any benefit to attending our educational, systems, going to college. They're not really seeing any much of a benefit of that when they can be a TikTok star or some shit like that. So
Yeah.
we want to make sure that our youth are able to have every opportunity available to them. I think that starts first with increasing their buying power, getting them out of debt, which is why I said as governor, I won't be borrowing any more money from the federal government because when they do that,
Right.
they put us deeper into debt. So the adults in the room are
Right.
borrowing money, not going to be able to pay that back, and then putting that burden on you and the rest of the youth to pay that back at some point by you.
Exactly. Like debt.
And
Exactly.
exactly. So we want to stop that cycle. It's been going on forever, and the only way to break it is to again create our own currency and make sure that we have some economic independence, which
It
is
makes
what
our
I plan
state
on
look
doing.
bad too. So I'm just dropping someone in real quick to ask you a question. Hey,
All
Sammy,
right.
did you have any questions for us real
What's
quick?
up, Sammy?
Yeah, I had a question for you. So you're running for the state of California. What are your
Yes, sir.
views on, let's see, let me think of something. Let's say, since we're talking about our youth, the education system and standardized testing.
I don't think we should have a one size fits all educational system, which is what I was telling my man here is that I plan on localizing our educational system. That way, you, the student, have control over what you're being taught in the classrooms. That choice should be between you,
Mm-hmm.
your parents, and the teachers that are teaching you. You know,
Right.
so I don't think there should be standardized testing at all. I would definitely lobby against that and stop that process here in the state. But in making sure that parents are able to have control over what happens in their classrooms, I plan on ending the collection of taxes um, on the local level and then redistributing that across the state. That actually happens right now. So let's say, for instance, if the state, what they will do is they will collect taxes from a city like LA, and then reinvest those taxes from LA into somewhere like Orange County. And now Orange County makes a lot more money, than some parts of LA, which get neglected completely, and their education, their school systems are horrible because of that. So we want to stop that by letting parents in those areas keep that money where it is.
Awesome. Awesome.
100%. Max, if we have enough time, do you want to turn this not necessarily into like a panel, but just like an open discussion to let Nicholas kind of just put what he has out put it out on the table?
Yeah, let's do that real quick because I agree with you, which the federal government shouldn't really be giving money to us in the first place because we should be setting the example and we shouldn't be undermining our state government. Our state government, unfortunately, is incompetent. So let's talk about, for example, Amazon, right? As you know, Amazon pays like no taxes in the state of California. How would you plan on fixing something like that?
Good question.
Well, I don't think that any business should be taxed in the state of California. So that's what I'll be doing is eliminating business tax for all businesses, as well as payroll tax, luxury tax, capital gains tax, no taxes. I believe that the people of California right now deserve a reprieve. And if you look at our history, for instance, the forgotten depression of the 1920s, um, basically after World War One, I believe, our country was going through a depression, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we needed to bounce back economically. The way that our
Yep.
government did it was to end taxes. So that's the best
Yeah.
way to do it. I think right now, especially with these lockdowns and what the pandemic panic has done to devastate our economy, the people of California could use to, you know, some sort of economic reprieve and keep their own money in their pocket where it belongs instead of in governments. So I will be downsizing government tremendously. Me as governor, I will be taking a smaller salary for the job. Right now, the current governor gets paid nearly $200,000 a year. I'll be reducing that to 60,000, which is the median income
Wow.
for the average person in California. I don't think any elected official should get paid more than that. If anything, I think the people that deserves more money are public service officials like law enforcers and teachers.
Well, okay, that's very interesting. And well, by decreasing how much the government pays its legislators and things like that, because I thought that maybe that would be another way to fund law enforcement and things like that. Is that your plan in funding law enforcement and education and other things, public institutions?
Absolutely. I think that money could be reinvested better into our public services, especially public service officials, other than the elected ones. They definitely don't deserve it when the position is really just a desk job, you know, an administrative job. And as governor, my role would be more supervisorial. So that's what we want is basically to downsize our government, have it run more efficiently off of less money, which is my plan, and make sure that we're investing that money more so where it needs to be. I would like to see our maybe sheriffs get paid that amount of money. You have some that don't at all, you know, that get neglected completely, and then you have others that are overpaid that aren't
Yep.
really doing as much. You have fire department officials, police, fire chiefs that get paid $250,000 a year. And we
Yeah.
have thousands of those state employees. So we need to make sure, again, that we're being responsible and making sure that they're earning their money, which is why I'll be transitioning to a performance-based salary system. That way you'll be earning your money, you know, and it won't exceed 60,000 if you're an elected official.
Okay, that's very interesting. Do you have any questions at the bottom?
And Nathan, you got a question when it comes to the state of California?
I think somebody made a comment
Yes.
there.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
How would you handle immigration in the state of California? And would you stand with Trump's border wall?
No, I would not. I believe that the identity of the California Republican is completely unique upon itself, and it differs from the national Republican Party. So California Republicans really don't see as much of a problem with immigration in the state because we see a benefit from it. If anything, Ronald Reagan provided amnesty to thousands, hundreds of thousands of
My
immigrants when he
grandparents.
was governor of the state. Not only that, but becoming a citizen is not mandatory. So we want to make sure that anyone that's interested, any immigrant that's interested in becoming a citizen, is able to do so in an affordable way and in an easier way. Right now, the process could take months, even years, and could cost tens of thousands of dollars. So if you ever seen the show 90 Day Fiance, you know, on Netflix, it's not really that easy for them to obtain that green card. So if they, and it creates, if anything, an obstruction. I think if we have natural rights as human beings, which is an inalienable right, is you being able to travel from one place to another. That should never be infringed upon by anyone. That should never be violated, limited, or restricted by any government.
Right.
So, as governor of California, I will be making that path to citizenship easier. I will be adding sunset clauses to our public welfare system and public services. That way, if you are receiving any type of financial assistance, it's only going to be for a limited time, because that is taxpayers' money, and we can't continue to pay for someone having a child for 18 years of their life. That responsibility should be up to that parent, and if it's for emergency assistance, it should only be temporary.
Yeah, it's like the idea of welfare was to get people back on their feet, but that's been completely perverted because people take that now just as a paycheck to just sit around.
Well, it creates a dependency. If someone knows that for the next 18 years they're going to be receiving a fixed income, then they know to basically they're going to continue to receive an income, a certain amount of income that they can be reliant upon. That takes away someone's incentive to want to go out there and work. We're seeing that happen right now in the state of California because you have, the state takeover, government takeover of our unemployment system to distribute monthly payments to people and stimulus checks, and it hasn't inspired them to want to go out and work. And we have a high increasing number of unemployment in the state, but a lot of jobs that aren't being taken because employers can't, afford to pay the $15 minimum wage, which is another thing we need to eliminate is, wage laws.
Right, we have more machines. So
I have a question real quick, if I can ask him.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know that Diego is up on here. If Diego's okay and if you're okay, I was wondering if you two can do a live video one day with me and Max moderating it. Not really a debate, but a discussion to exchange ideas on certain issues.
Like a town hall or something.
Yeah, exactly, like a town hall. Because you said you're not for the wall, or like you don't support just building a wall. And Diego does support securing the border. So
Instagrams beforehand, so that way
I know. But let me tell you guys one thing. This is California, and if you look at the ethnic makeup of our state, is highly Hispanic, and that type of person is not going to win California. Trump Republican is not going to win California as governor, which is why Trump didn't get elected president. The people of California didn't even vote for Joe Biden. They voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary in this last presidential election. So the people of California tend to lean more progressive, more socially liberal, and also fiscally conservative. I mean, in the last election, the people of California voted down all of the tax increases, whether they tried to mask it around, wanting to improve our schools or give firefighters more money. The people of California said no, and they voted down all of those propositions. So if you look at how the people of California vote and you want to be Gavin Newsom, then you have to vote for a Republican like myself. One that's going to be appealing to the left and certain situations that they feel like needs to be addressed that benefits all of the people of California.
So that's why I think a lot of Bernie Sanders voters ended up voting Trump.
You're breaking up, my friend. Say that again.
That's why I think a lot of Bernie Sanders voters back in 2016 ended up voting for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're still fiscally conservative.
Yeah, exactly. And them being upset with the Democratic Party and what they've done to splinter themselves and lean to be more statist and, neoconservative just as much as the right has. So it's sad that you have both parties pretending to be wanting to promote fiscal responsibility, but neither showing that type of restraint when it comes to spending our money.
Right, exactly.
I have a question for you because I just saw it in the comments. You don't have to answer if you don't. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. But do you think the election was stolen? Yes or no?
I believe every election is rigged. 2020 was rigged.
That's fine.
2016 was rigged. You know,
Yeah.
they said it was rigged when Trump won. They said the election was rigged when Al Gore lost to George Bush, you
Bush,
know?
right? Because they completely switched the vote, right, in the year 2000.
Right. And you had certain states that pretty much they had all sorts of what is it, voter fraud going on and all sorts of things, miscounts. And so, if anything, when it comes to controversial elections such as this past one, you're always going to have some skepticism, which is why I think we should be increasing the amount of accountability when it comes to our electoral process. I think bringing it up to speed, by way of blockchain voting or online voting or more accountable ways to, again, make sure that we the people are able to vote and it's able to be tracked more efficiently, and have forensic audits periodically. Instead of it being something that has to be done as a last measure, leave that as an option that's always available to the people that are voting, and it can be sporadic. Whenever they want, they can audit the vote, and we can
Right.
find out. But I think if more people have more ways to vote, right now you can vote on your cell phone, and for something, and it's tracked with your IP. It's unique and it's identifiable to just your device. So there's more technological ways that where we can improve our voting systems. Right now it doesn't, is inadequate, it's outdated, and I'll be making sure as governor I improve that process here in the state of California.
Awesome. That was a pretty good answer. And Max, go ahead.
All right, so I have my final questions here. My second to last question is, most schools were online for a full year, as you know, and we're number 48 in education. What would you have done better to handle the coronavirus this past year? And also, what will you do to get our education to a higher level?
Well, the one thing about our educational system, like we've talked about, is government control over it has pretty much made it worse. So I'm not really too happy with it. I wasn't too happy with it before all of this happened, but I think now in hindsight, we're able to see how much of the authoritative control that our governor took over shutting down these schools has devastated our children's lives, not only their education, but their mental health, their physical health. For some of them, we talk about that quarantine 15 for adults, but I'm pretty sure that applies to our youth as well. So we want to make sure that our youth are mentally fit, physically fit. Right. And the best way to do that is by making sure that they always have access to educational facilities. So, like I said, in hindsight, we see that it was unnecessary for Newsom to have had shut down the schools, which is why, as governor, I'll be immediately reopening those schools, leaving it up to parents and students locally to make that choice on how they would like to engage at those schools, whether it be if you want to wear a mask or not. You're not going to be forced to do so against your will.
You're not going to be penalized, exactly.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I heard one interesting approach on homelessness, which was build facilities for them to be in, right? Build more mental facilities, then build properties they could live in, but also deploy the National Guard to give them temporary help. What do you think of that kind of approach?
I don't think it's necessary right now. There's multiple reasons why you have people that are out there, living on the streets. Some of them are dealing with mental health issues. Some of them are dealing with drug abuse issues. So I think that could be better addressed with public health services and professionals dealing with it instead of our law enforcement, which tends to sometimes instigate it, and cause it to lead to some sort of altercation that's unnecessary. So if we want to make sure our police officers are focusing on violent criminals, then we need to make sure that the people that are out there that are dealing with drug abuse or mental health problems are being assisted by professionals in those areas. I also believe that we could actually build homes for the homeless. You do have a great deal of people that are out there that are living on the streets that are out there because of some unfortunate circumstance. You know, maybe they were living with a relative and got put out on the streets, or you know, we a great deal of our homeless population are younger people and
Yeah.
military veterans.
Right.
You know, coming back from deployment, not receiving the assistance they were promised by our government through our VA system, and they're out there living on the streets. So I want to build 3D printed homes. This 3D printed technology actually could help build homes in less than 24 hours. Some models cost less than $5,000. They're self-sustainable. They have their own water and power. So it's a better way for them to, again, get public housing. But ultimately, I believe that if we can provide as many different services and attack the issue from all angles, then we can reduce the amount of homelessness in the state, which is my plan on addressing the issue.
All right, great. Sammy and Nathan, do you guys have any more questions? Do we have any questions in the comments that we'd like to address?
Yeah, I got one more question. So do you agree, like, are you okay, are you comfortable with doing like a town hall with Diego Martinez, me, and Max?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I'm always happy to speak with you guys and any other candidate at any time. I don't run away from confrontations. You can check my YouTube channel that has nearly 7 million views to find out why. But I'm definitely not one to run away from a fight. And it's unfortunate that you have a lot of candidates that they're avoiding debating or speaking publicly, you know, on platforms such as yours to talk more about what they want to do for the people of California, you know.
Yeah.
They rather be reliant upon the fake news and, you know, the mainstream media outlets to get their message out there. And that even furthers that disconnect between them and the people they claim to want to represent.
It's good to be an
Are
open book. Go ahead.
are you open to doing this after this live?
Oh, yes, absolutely. You mean like some future time? Because I do have plans this evening.
Yeah, some
After
future
this.
time after this live, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, of course.
Awesome. So sounds good. Sounds good. And then my final question was, what do you think about the Republican Party where it's at right now? Obviously, it's split. Where are you in the modern Republican Party? Where are you? Are you with Marjorie and the MAGA movement with Donald Trump? Are you more laid back? Where are you in the modern Republican Party?
Well, I'm more of a traditional Republican. If you ever heard of Ron Paul, I'm a Ron Paul Republican, so I lean more libertarian. And I think the Republican Party would be in a different position right now had he been elected president or even won the presidential nomination when he had ran for president against Barack Obama in 2012. That was my first time getting involved in any political campaign, being a longtime Democrat, having had voted for Barack Obama and wanted something different, and learning about Dr. Ron Paul. So my first time voting for a Republican was for him. And I think the message that he brought with regards to a smaller government, one that's more economically responsible, you know, or fiscally responsible,
Mm-hmm.
and one that stays out of your bedroom, stays out of your pocketbook, you know, is a message that the majority of the people of California would be willing to embrace, one that they want to hear. And if I'm able to deliver that message to more people, I'm pretty sure I'll be elected governor of California because of it. It's just a matter of you guys
But
helping, you know, spread the message and get it out there. But I believe that the California Republican Party is something that we, the people, need to start reforming from the inside. We need to get involved on the precinct level, which is what I'm actually promoting right now with my campaign for everyone.
He cut out there. Let's give him a second.
yeah.
That way you can become delegates and hopefully get me the Republican nomination in 2022 if I don't get elected in this recall election.
So we have a couple questions down here in the comments. One of them is, who did you support in 2016?
2016?
Yeah.
And while we're at it, let's do 2020 as well.
Well, I always vote libertarian, so I'm against the two-party system. I think we need to switch it up and see some bit of a different representation. So in 2016, in the primary, I voted for the Libertarian John McAfee, and then in the final general election, I voted for Gary Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 2020, this past election, I voted for Dan Berman. Dan Taxation is Theft Berman in the primary, and then I voted for Libertarian Joe Jorgensen in the presidential primary. And she was the only woman on the ballot in all 50 states. And it's crazy because you have a lot of people out there saying, we could have had our first female president with, Hillary. But Joe Jorgensen was completely ignored. And the reason being is because she was truly anti-establishment. And right now, whether it's the right or the left, they want to maintain that establishment control over our lives. So they never want to relinquish it, because it validates their position. It gives them reason to exist. So anybody such as Joe Jorgensen, who was talking about ending occupational wars, who was talking about ending the Federal Reserve, who was talking about ending qualified immunity, creates a threat to the establishment, because that would give we the people what we want and eliminate the issue. So that's what I plan on doing as governor, is addressing the issue, solving it, eliminating it completely.
Awesome. Baby Mega, you have some questions. Comment them down below.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead, Max?
I thought I saw a question down here. Let's see. What do you think of alternative education?
Alternative such as?
Yeah, I want you to be more specific in the comments, please. So then we'll
like a homeschool, school vouchers, stuff like that.
Always supported that. I mean, even before this lockdown, it's sad because people that wanted to homeschool, parents that wanted to teach their kids at their home, were somewhat demonized, and put in a box. And the process was made more difficult for them. Fast forward to where we are now, parents were forced to homeschool their kids, and they're finding it to be an inconvenience, some of them, because they were reliant upon that educational system structure to have their kids go off and be provided their education. So it's sad that our government didn't make those options more readily and easily available. That's what I'll be doing. I think school vouchers is great. I think that charter schools is great. I just think that it should, again, be on the local level. I don't want to be in control of that choice. State officials should not be in control of that choice.
Right.
You should be in control of that choice.
Would you make private, like using private institutions, a tax write-off?
Private institutions such as?
You
mean like private
school? Yeah.
Well, I want to get rid of taxes, so you wouldn't have to do a tax write-off if there's no taxes. So I want to make our current tax system,
there'd be a negative balance, so you owe them money. No, I'm joking.
or negative tax, and that's what I want to do. I want to make our tax system a voluntary one. That way you can contribute and give what you want, and you get to delegate where that money goes. So if I, as a taxpayer in my area, want to make sure that my local school is funded more, or that my local police department receives more funding, I want to be able to fill out a tax form, say how much I'm going to give, where it's going to go, and then I'm a happy camper. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to provide as an option to the people of California.
Well, to piggyback off of what you said you wanted to get rid of taxes. Look, I'm all for cutting taxes. We have an excessive amount of taxes in California. 2018, so pre-pandemic, pre-Trump economic boom, all that. 2018, you're barely seeing the rise. Let's talk about spending. California spent $137.7 billion 2018, mid 2018. If we cut out taxes, I don't know what your tax plan is. How are we going to come up? Sure, we can cut spending. Sure, we can balance the
Right,
budget.
that's what I was gonna ask.
But how are we going to pay for things that we need state funded things? That's without a question. We need that. Obviously, we can cut it, but how are we going to do things like local public schools, law enforcement, AA, rehab facilities, stuff like that? How are we going to pay for that if we cut out taxes?
I think you're, again, not getting the concept of you being in control. You have a city treasurer or county treasurer. So all of your taxes in your county goes to your county treasurer. And the state auditor, and the state treasurer then collects that money from them. I want to stop that, leave the money with your county treasurer. That way, you then, as the taxpayer, can let your county treasurer, I wanted to go towards after-school programs, or I wanted to go towards improving the roads, which are not ways to really spend the money. As a state official, what I will be doing is ending that relationship and focusing state government on running on a smaller budget. So right now it's this big. I want to have it get this big. And by doing so, it's now going to run on a smaller budget. And what I plan on doing is shifting to a non-taxpayer revenue system. So let's say, for instance, right now with our state bridges or state highways, like the Golden Gate Bridge. So if I wanted to lease off naming rights of the Golden Gate Bridge to Amazon or Verizon or, some large corporation, they wanted to pay $100 million a year. And in that contract, they had to also agree to maintaining that highway. Now you, the taxpayer, just made $100 million and your highway is going to be maintenance for a year for free. You didn't pay for a dime. And now government is able to operate off of that money. And if we have extra, let's say, for instance, we do that to all of the highways and, we make $100 billion. We have unfunded liabilities right now, which are pensions to our state employees that need to get paid.
Yep.
And that is, again, debt being passed down to you. We want to cut the debts, cut the deficits, cut these, again, promises for us to have to continue paying money so we can have a real surplus that truly represents a profit. That's what I want to shift to doing. But any extra profit isn't going in my pocket or any other state official's pockets. It's going into your pocket.
So what's up?
How's it going, Max?
Hey,
Russian
it's going well.
Strogan, that's the
Yeah,
homie,
question.
Arizona, Phoenix.
Gang,
What's up?
gang. Hey, I
Welcome.
like what I'm hearing here, man. I kind of like that fresh approach. Government spending is completely out of control, like to the point where it's like when people start, it's funny, most people don't understand the tax code, and that is not by mistake, you guys. It is by design that it's practically impossible to understand the tax code. So when people start talking about taxes, the basic stuff that people care about is like Sammy was saying in regards to infrastructure and schools and emergency services, right? Those are the basic kind of things people think about when they think about things, what your taxes are funding. One of the biggest things right now is that you're getting taxed on your income, and then after you're taxed on your income, when you spend it, it's taxed again.
Yeah, you're taxed multiple times over.
But then the company's making that profit, it's taxed with corporate tax. And then when they get spent it gets taxed again. The money gets taxed about 6 or 7 separate times, right? So let me ask you something. When you talk about getting rid of taxes altogether, you mentioned something about the roads, so I'm assuming that there would not be gasoline tax on the gas companies, because right now I believe there's what is it, 42 cents per gallon tax.
Hmm.
Once you get the state tax, federal tax, and the underground tax,
Exactly.
underground tank tax, right? So you would eliminate that altogether?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So we can make these gas prices more affordable, you know? But you're right. Almost a dollar of the price charged for gas out here in California goes towards taxes.
Wow.
And it's ridiculous. But when you're taxed, you know, 30, 40 times, then when the dollar is taxed that many times in circulation, it's going to lose its value. That's why right now the cost for lumber is going up. The cost for groceries is going up. The cost for living is going up. If you want to reduce those costs, you have to have sound money. Right now, we don't. We have a currency that's being inflated because the Federal Reserve, again, that private company that's not federal at all, keeps hitting print
I love how you
on
said
making more
that. I
money.
love how you say that. It's so true.
You mean Federal Express isn't part of the government?
Exactly right. I said that to my man here. Yeah, the Federal Reserve is no more federal
I like how
than
you're
Federal
speaking the
Express.
truth. And
Because yeah, people don't understand the concept of where our money comes from, and if money is a tool that we use to trade with. If you wanted to trade, apples with him for his steel, and he didn't want that, you would have to have some medium to where you both agree on. And if I'm the money creator, I have to create that instrument for you that's worth value, or else I'm just creating that out of thin air. I'm a
right,
counterfeit,
right, exactly.
or
Like
else
a
why come to
capitalist.
me for that money if I can just make it? You can just make it, or you can just make it. Anybody can just make their own money.
Well,
So what gives me just that authority?
yeah, I agree.
Right now we have tax codes, like he was saying, that pretty much puts that policy, the control of that policy, in the hands of the Federal Reserve, which the IRS is basically a collection agency for.
Right. I have to end my live in like 5 minutes here. So do you guys have any last questions? And then we're gonna answer the questions in the comments.
No, not for me. I'm just saying this guy so far so good. I've loved every answer. Some things
All right.
more than others, but yeah, I
You,
like the
Russell?
very you remind me of Richard Nixon. You're very just laid back. Everything besides the certain strategy, you're just like socially liberal. You're riding, man. You're vibing.
All right, good to hear. Well, let me say this. The hands of what happens here with this political takeover, this government takeover here in the state is in your hands, okay? We did this by collecting all of the signatures to remove Gavin Newsom from office. So if we want to retain that power, we can't give it up to the establishment. We can't vote for Jenner. We can't vote for, Faulkner or Cox or any other person that comes along and pretends like they care about us. We know they don't. Don't feed into that lie. You have to support somebody that's really going to represent us on the grassroots level. And like I said, if you want to make sure that you beat Newsom and the Democrats and the, liberal leftists, then you have to be sure to vote for a California Republican. And that's exactly what Wildstar is. So please vote Wildstar for governor.
All right. So we're going to have our last couple of questions. Russian Troll, you have anything to say?
Yeah, so I came in at the end of this, so I still got a lot to say, but I know we don't have a lot of time. You know me, I could talk forever. But
can I say something really quickly? Somebody got a question that says, how will we pay for roads? If you look into Domino's has a pilot program right now where they will pave your roads. They will fix your potholes, all to put down a Domino's logo. No money comes out of your pockets. I actually been promoting this idea since I ran for governor in 2018. We can do that. So we can have better roads without it coming out of your pocket.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with government is the lack of a scope of a broader vision when it comes to how to get things done, because their whole concept of doing things is, well, their solution is always more government. And the problem with that is that you have all these viable solutions available to you in the private sector that are completely overlooked and what you just said right now is something that's been on my mind for years since I saw that Domino's commercial. I was like, well,
All
this
right,
is a novel
see?
idea. These companies have money, and if you're taking away the corporate tax, you're talking about trillions of dollars extra in the state of California that would
Yeah,
not only
more
benefit
jobs.
workers, expansion, more benefits, higher
Hmm.
pay, and
Higher
then
pay.
to turn
Exactly.
around and offer that money back to the to
And
building
that's
roads
without
and
raising the minimum
infrastructure.
wage.
Oh yeah, and that's
Exactly.
without, man. I'm telling you, you don't need to raise minimum wage. The government shouldn't be determining what people are worth anyway. You should be determining that. And
Exactly.
Exactly.
I had someone approach me today here in Arizona, man. They were petitioning, and they're like, "Hey, sign this petition." I said, "What's it for?" They said, "Raising the minimum wage." I said, "You get paid
Hmm.
by the signature or by the hour?"
Right.
And he's like, "Well, I get." He's like, "Well, I get." Well, he's like, "I get paid by the hour." And I was like, "All right, well, I would have signed it just to help you, but if I signed it to help you to raise the minimum wage, wouldn't be helping you. If I signed it to help you because you were getting paid off of performative action, it would have helped you. So
Right.
that's why I'm not signing it."
Yeah. I see petitioners, they get paid $3 per signature, and their hustle is more than the people that get the $15 an hour or whatever the
So
case may
Yes.
be. So yeah,
Exactly.
fixed incomes don't motivate anybody to earn more than what they're already getting. So if someone's
Nope.
happy with getting that amount of money working at McDonald's, don't complain because you're not getting paid more. Go
What they're
find a
doing,
job that will pay you more.
right,
what they're
exactly.
doing is incentivizing people to stay stagnant, and that is
Right.
dangerous. Because I was a corporate trainer. I used to be a sales trainer for Fortune 500 companies. Now that sounds exciting and all, but really what it meant was people would get into this entry-level sales position with like DirecTV or AT&T, and they come into my training class, and I'm over here trying to teach them things that are so valuable, this mindset and these skill sets that are going to feed them for the rest of their life. And their concern is, am I going to get paid $15 an hour for training? Because if not, I'm going to go somewhere that's going to pay me to train me. And I would just say,
Exactly.
well, you're starting off with the wrong mindset already. So I always
Right.
thought my job is not to train them sales, but to train them to get out of that mindset of I need a guaranteed hourly minimum protection. Because if they went into the business with that mindset, it doesn't matter what I teach them as far as skill set, the mindset would take over and they would never utilize the skills they were given. They would never see the potential that's there for them to write their own checks. And they did
Exactly.
pay $15 an hour there for the training and for on the floor. But I'm telling you, with bonuses and commissions, I've seen agents make $15,000 a
Oh yeah.
Right.
And these
I was
people,
one of those people. I mean, my background in the private sector is in sales, and that's where I really made the most money as a person, as a working class individual, was not getting paid an hourly salary, but, having no cap on how much money I could make, versus other jobs where I only was making so much, and that, again, limited to what I could do. But that's what we want to do
And
here in the state. Unfortunately, we got the AB5 bill, which I want to nullify, which prevents people from working as an independent contractor. So we want to give the power to work for yourself back to you.
And the final question I'm going to answer is here in the comments is, have you seen the NH Libertarian Party tweets recently? If not, they said they're in favor of repealing the Civil Rights Act and getting rid of child labor laws. What are your thoughts?
I don't believe that segregation helped in this country. I think it would have happened naturally. So segregation laws created more of an inconvenience, more of a disturbance to the places where they were implemented. And I think they were more so to disrupt those local economies. I mean, if you look at the Tulsa, Black Wall Street, the way that it lost its economic power was through desegregation.
Right.
So when it comes to people using their money and keeping it local, like he said, where it's able to circulate in that community so many times, where it builds the wealth there locally before it goes outside the neighborhood, is going to help everyone in that community.
Right.
That just didn't happen, continued to happen after desegregation. And with regards to child labor laws, I mean, I was maybe 9 years old when I had my first job, raking leaves. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, one of my first jobs, I guess, real jobs through the government, where I'm now being taxed, was at 14 when I, got approved for a work permit.
Yeah.
So why should the state be determining me and what I should be able to do, especially if my parent, my mother, is giving me the thumbs up to go out there and work for myself and earn money for myself. So I think that should be left up to parents, and the children that are going out there. And if you have a corporation that wants to hire 14-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, I mean, we have labor laws that exist for a reason. That should apply to everyone regardless of what your age is. So if that person exhibits the capability to do that job, if I have a restaurant and I want to hire a 10-year-old to come in there and sweep the floors, and mop up and, wipe tables, and it's going to help them develop those work skills that's later in life they're going to need, why should I be prevented from doing so as an employer?
So can my daughter go and get a vendor's permit for her lemonade stand and make it legit?
Right.
And we're not going to pay no taxes? Because I'm on board.
Nope.
She's 3 years old.
You won't even need that permit, man. Just open up shop.
Right now, but let me tell you, next, my daughter's 3 years old, but it's about time she starts pulling her weight, bro.
Exactly.
You've been living off of me for too long. All right,
you got to put her to work now.
I gave you a follow, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. God bless you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being with us, Nicholas. I'm
Well,
going to end the live in just a sec. But, yeah, thank you for taking your time to answer questions. We had some great people in here. We had a great discussion. And we look forward to seeing you again.
Absolutely. God bless you both and you all. And take care until next time.
Take care, everybody. Until next time.
Take care, y'all. Later.